Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and here we are at our second stop in Madison, Wisconsin. We are at First United Methodist Church. With me is Ross Cowing. Ross, you're the organist here, correct?
Yes, I'm the organist and music director here at First Church.
Been director of music now.
Yep.
How long have you been organist here?
Over 25 years.
Okay.
And began being the organist here about the same time as the instrument arrived.
Well, when did this instrument come in?
This instrument was first played on the first Sunday in Advent in 1992.
Okay.
It was about 20 years in the planning. The congregation had a church where our parking lot currently stands. And when the Evangelical United Brethren and Methodist merged in the 60s, they took the opportunity to build a new sanctuary, which is right here. So this sanctuary is from the early 70s, 1974. And they moved a lightly voiced Wix into this space from the old church because they couldn't afford this instrument, the instrument they wanted.
Yeah.
And so when the mortgage was paid off in 1989, they reinstated the organ committees, two committees. They had an organ selection committee and they had a funding committee.
Okay.
So two committees worked simultaneously. And this organ was kind of planned for 20 years. And so when it finally came to fruition, people were very supportive. There were about 5 pages of contributors to the instrument, and so it was a major fundraising campaign. And a single donor made the last contribution that made the antiphonal instrument possible.
Okay.
So we have a main instrument and then antiphonal.
And we talk a lot about organ design and different builders and what they do in different periods. We don't ever talk about organ funding really here, and that's such the other hand of building great organs. You got to have somebody who can pay for them, and the money has to be raised.
Yes, and some instruments a person just writes a check.
Yeah, if
and
you're lucky.
If you're lucky. This one came about as contributions from just many people.
All right, so a lot of people were really excited about this instrument. I guess.
Very much so.
So this is an Austin organ, we should have said. How many ranks do we have total?
We have 59 ranks, 46 voices.
6 voices. How many are in the back versus the front, do you know?
About a quarter of the instrument is in the back.
So yeah, a good size antiphonal division back there.
Right.
So it's all up on a second rail, second level. There's no seating up there, just the organ. So that's great that it's got all that space.
And it was designed so it would speak directly into the room,
Yeah.
so that the instrument is located above the level of the wall that's up there.
It's all out in the open and clear to see. And I've walked around. There's not a bad sounding spot in the room. It all fills the room really well.
It's kind of stereophonic in that with the antiphonal instrument, you get that kind of surround sound if you're sitting in the middle of the congregation. Also, the room is not very extremely live. It's a fairly not dead room, but it's not reverberant, and the antiphonal instrument helps to add presence
Sure.
to the sound.
Yeah, it's a modern building, but it's the sound flows really well in the building, and it's all brick and hard surfaces, so that's fantastic. Well, let's hear some of it. I'm ready to hear what we've done here. Let's start with the great division. Let's start with our 8-foot principal. That's usually a great place to start.
Yes, each one of the divisions has representative sounds from the 4 organ sounds: the principal, the flute, the string, and the reeds. So the great 4-foot, 2, add the mixture. And the violone is really, the 16-foot violone is really part of the principal chorus.
That builds up really gently. It's bright when you get there, but it's not any big jump at any point. It's just a nice chorus that all works together well.
The antiphonal is the echo, basically, to the great.
Okay.
So that's based on an 8-foot flute, a 4-foot principal, 2-foot principal, and a mixture.
there's no 8-foot principal back there. It's just
No.
an 8-foot flute as your base, but it still mirrors the brightness really well.
It mirrors it. The swell is based on an 8-foot principal. 4-foot principal. Mixture. And that's under expression. And then the choir is based on an 8-foot flute. 4-foot principal. 2-foot. And then a mixture. Each division is a little brighter than the next.
I would say the swell principal almost sounds like a string. It's almost that narrow scale. It's not a real spitty principal, but
No.
it's thinner. And we certainly have that strong 4-foot sound throughout. But the choir definitely is the brightest of those two with that 3-rank cymbal on top of it. Well, very good. So great, excellent principal choruses in all the divisions. But let's go back to the grate and talk about some of the other stops that we've got there.
So flutes on the grate. And a 4-foot. And then the other divisions then also flute chorus.
What's the name of that flute?
It's a roar flute. And a block float. And then flutes on the choir as well.
Let's give that a little more Germanic sound.
And copal flout. On the grate, then we have an 8-foot violone. Which is the string stop there.
Now, is that an extension of the 16-foot violone?
Yes,
Okay.
that is.
Good. You got that
And
16/8.
on the choir, an Erzähler.
With its accompanying Celeste, yeah.
And a viol da gamba. And then the antiphonal Gems horn. And then we didn't, when we talked about flutes, didn't talk about the flauto dolce on the swell, and it's just. The instrument really moves from very, very soft, very gentle to.
I was about to say, you have quite the progression of soft sounds to full sounds there,
Yeah.
so you have a lot of color to play with.
Yes.
And then, let's talk about some of the reed sounds in this instrument.
This instrument has reeds. We have an 8-foot trumpet on the grate.
This big commanding reed there.
On the swell, we have an 8-foot trumpet. Add the 4-foot. Add the 16.
Are all those three independent?
Yes,
Very
those
good.
are,
Yeah.
are not unified.
Okay.
A bombard in the back. And when we couple it 16 and 4,
It's a nice big sound.
quite a sound.
I like it.
So on the swell, we have also a vox. And a solo crumhorn on the choir. And then to finish out the reeds, we have festival trumpets that float to whatever division you want to put them on.
It's a big sound.
It is a big sound.
And I should say, by floating, you've got a division that just says festival trumpet, and then you can pull whatever division you want it to be on.
Exactly.
Those knobs. Very nice. And that reed is horizontal. It's an enchemade reed on top of the boxes.
It is.
So it really directs its sound out into the room.
And the lower part, the 16-foot, is back behind, and also we can take a look when we go upstairs.
Definitely, yeah. All right. So what's in the pedal division?
In the pedal, we have an 8-foot Poisson. 16-foot. And a 32.
It's also really big.
Yes. And the festival trumpet is also available in the pedal.
It's a lot of sound up there. Big impact.
A lot of sound.
So the swell and choir are in 2 boxes. Up there, the choir is expressive in the middle of everything, so it's all just right here in your face in the room.
It is.
And it speaks well. And we've got a lot of pistons, a nice combination action, it seems.
Right. We have a memory for 20 different organists, so we have that, and then a good supply of generals. Service generals are set up kind of conveniently, flutes and strings. General 2 a little more. We start our principals with General 3. Adding brightness. Add the reeds.
Progresses from soft to full really well.
Pretty well. And then each of the manual divisions are set up for these service generals with different useful combinations. The flute, which lasts the box. A cornet. Using the 16-foot reed at 4-foot level with a tremulant, a nice solo reed.
Yeah.
We have Zimbalstern and a combination with that.
Very nice. Yeah, overall a very versatile instrument.
Someone sat down and said everything's where it should be.
Definitely. Well, I'd like to hear a little bit of it in concert, if we could hear something.
I have some selections, just short selections on Leaning on the Everlasting Arms that kind of get us around the instrument.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Various things.
Getting into and around the organ of the Austin First Methodist is a little easier than some of the instruments I visited recently. You simply go into a closet, and this ladder is here that goes straight up into the organ chamber. And at the top of the ladder, the first thing we see is the 16-foot of the festival trumpet. And then right behind it is the very large 16-foot principal. As we look around, the grate and the pedal are behind us. 16-foot Borden. This is the pedal in the rear here with pedal mixture in the front. And I said that wrong. All very easily accessible. There's a view around the other side of the grate and pedal divisions. And then back over on the other side, we see some of the grate pipes that are in front of the swell and choir box. The 16-foot violone and a Gem's horn. Our festival trumpets up on top of these swell and choir boxes. You can look underneath for the access panels where you get into the Austin universal chests, or these offset chests. And we're going back behind the grate again. And now we're behind the swell and choir boxes. There's our blower. Static regulator, and then there's the relay for the organ. And that is the swell box. See all of our 3 ranks of reeds there. Then the vox humana is in the middle of the other side. And you can see how the 16-foot Borden speaks through the back of the box, so it's tubed off from another chest and hangs on the back, so don't have to worry about height in here. All right, that is the swell division. There's our supplemental blower for the festival trumpet. Back of the box you see those Borden pipes and a ladder that lets you get up on top to tune the festival trumpet. Around the corner, and that's how we get into the choir box, which, because it has pipes speaking from the floor, has these sound transparent walkboards. We see these pipes are Haskelled here as well. There's chimes here, which came from the original Este organ. They were even put into the Wicks organ, and they live here still in the Austin. That's the choir, and then we have a few more stops back here, namely the pedal 16 and 32 foot with very large wooden blocks. Some more Haskell pipes out the side. Now there is in the organ chamber a switch that allows you to turn the organ on and off. So we're turning off the blower so that we can open the door to the universal chest. This is for the swell. It's not quite tall enough to stand up in, but We did another video about an Austin organ explaining the action, but here's another little peek at it. The key units pull these trackers that go all the way across the chest. And if the stop action has come on, it will push this bar down for each stop, which makes the pallet under the pipe open. Then there are individual units for single notes. These are for the unit notes that can be borrowed or played in other divisions. The valve simply pulls a wire that opens the pallet. There's our mechanical tremolo, which operates a little pressure fluctuation there from inside the chest. And that's the front organ. Now we go down the ladder, walk across the church, and this is even easier. Closet door opens and there's a stairwell to take us up to the antiphonal division. Antiphonal's right here in front of us. We can also get inside the universal chest here. It's not quite tall enough to stand up in, which makes it a little tricky to have to scrunch down to work on it or take a chair in. It's easy to do. The blower for this division is back behind it, and it all speaks right out into the church. Ross, thank you so much for showing us this wonderful 1992 Austin organ here at First United Methodist Church in Madison, Wisconsin. It's a lovely instrument with, it, like you said, everything where you want it to be. There's one of everything where you need it, and yes. It builds up from a great soft to a big roar in this room. I know when we're not in pandemic times, you do actually have regular concerts here or regular events showing off the instrument.
We had started an organ series, and it's everything is on hold, and as well as a recital series of other instruments too. So, yes, hopefully we'll get that back going.
Well, I hope so, and I guess you'll have information online when that's available, so you can look up First Methodist in Madison, Wisconsin, and this wonderful Austin organ. For now, for streaming classical organ music, remember you can always tune into our 3 stations, organlive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. And remember, if you'd like to support the Organ Media Foundation and help us make more videos, you can do that by going to organ.media and clicking on support. Thank you for watching. I'm Brent Johnson. I'll talk to you later.